the values and beliefs you have now about how necessary other people are in your life is going to determine how long you live and the kind of life that you're going to have. Today we're talking about Mike Fremont. Mike has lived a very full life. He has been married 3 times. He is a cancer survivor. And at 101 years old, he can run marathons, he kayaks, and he can do more pull-ups than you.
This is Mike Fremont. He's 101, has multiple world records running marathons, does daily pull-ups, and he's diamond.
I just wanted to stop on this shot of him doing pull-ups with a mask on at 100 years old. How many of you babies during the shutdown couldn't get a workout in? You couldn't do a set of curls with a mask on because you thought you were suffocating, but this is an OG right here. No complaints, no excuses. He's out there clipping off pull-ups, mask on, ready to go.
You may think people get to 100 years old because they just have healthier habits, but oftentimes the opposite was actually true. Peter Attia talks about this study of 500 subjects who were around the age of 100. A large portion of them drank alcohol and smoked.
I just sit and smoke sometimes 12 cigars a day.
Many were overweight, and the males were less likely to have exercised regularly than their peers.
2 doctors have told me that if I drink it, I will die, but they died first.
Their actual secret? Lucky genetics.
So out of all of the people that live an exceptionally long life, you have those longevity genes present, which means you're going to have a population of some people that lived probably a very pure, healthy lifestyle, and some people that probably fucked off and smoked too much and did a lot of drugs in their 20s and like to live life.
One study looked at seniors who engaged in a program of strength training and found that even after 6 months of pure strength training, half of the subjects did not gain any muscle mass. So building muscle now is like investing in your retirement.
It almost feels like, hey, do you want to know the secret to earning $1 million in 3 seconds? And then it's withdrawing from your bank the money you've been saving up for the last 20 years. I would wager, I don't know this, but my intuition tells me that the people that did not gain muscle mass in that study, without having seen it, that's probably more psychological. In the study, it was average of 78 years old, frail, elderly people. Imagine what it's like in that phase of life to go through that and be expected to train very, very hard. Anybody who's dealt with elderly relatives know how hard it can be to get them to get up and move when they don't want to. So just all the more reasons, start early.
Then the shaking starts. That's when it gets hard.
Wait, try again here.
You want to try again?
Yeah, I haven't nearly finished.
Yeah.
Look at that right there. I haven't nearly finished, 101 years old. That is not something he just picked up when he decided he was 75 and wanted to squeeze out a few more years.
Sweet corn mixed with chopped up onion.
Now, according to Mike, his vegan diet is the #1 key to his health. For good reason. He was diagnosed with cancer at 69, was given only 3 months left to live, and stumbled upon the Cancer Prevention Diet by Michio Kushi, which talks about a macrobiotic diet based on Zen Buddhism. According to Peter Attia, we actually know very little about nutrition and what's best for us. Most studies are actually conducted very poorly. The topic is way too complex with way too many variables, and it just gets oversimplified way too much.
And you want to be careful with this because this is a very at-risk population. As people get older and they get diseases, they're looking for the magic bullet. The takeaway from all of this, I believe, is that there is no magic bullet. It's a holistic approach. It's your genetics, but it's also the way you lived your life over your entire life. All of those things together are going to increase the likelihood you live a long life and have a good quality of life towards the end of it. Now, we went through this with my mother-in-law, who unfortunately passed away last year. She was only 67, and she had diabetes. She had high blood pressure. In addition to having depression, it kept her away from a social group. It kept her inside. It kept her bedridden. And when she got cancer, there was this sudden urge to try to find the magic bullet. And it exposed her to this entire economy of people that are trying to give the quick fix. You know, it was somebody pushing a certain type of diet. It was somebody pushing alkaline water. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of the very basic, and I would say probably easy misinterpretations you can make of this information.
But as we spent more time with Mike, it became clear to me what the biggest factor to his longevity was. We haven't touched on this in our previous video about longevity, but it's probably the most important thing.
How are you?
Still alive.
Me too.
You guys all got your sunscreen on?
Yep.
Practice safe sun.
You see how important it is to be married.
Yeah. I'm working on it.
I wouldn't be anybody if it weren't for Marilyn. But that's what marriages are for, my God.
This is why Peter Attia talks about the importance of emotional health. We're experiencing an all-time high of depression, fewer marriages, more loneliness overall, and loneliness kills.
The people who were the most satisfied in their relationships at age 50 were the healthiest at age 80. Good relationships keep us happier and healthier, period.
God, I could go on a rant with that, and I feel like I'm about to. So there's a lot of dysfunction in my family, as there is with society, and I could go on all that and what the cause of that is. But the thing that was in my brain that made me consciously commit to making family work when my role models for family were all completely disastrous was the recognition of what feeling alone was like now when I was younger and how debilitating and miserable that was. And looking towards the end of my life and realizing that if I wasn't proactive now, just like if I wasn't putting away money now, working towards a career now, I was going to be broke by the time I'm 50. I knew that if I wasn't investing in that now, making changes now, I was going to die alone, like so many people do. If you want to know what pure, concentrated existential dread looks like, go to any nursing home and see what the day-to-day of that life is. Watch people who are bedridden spend their entire day in bed watching TV, where the only people they converse with are the orderlies who bring them their Jell-O. What you see in that situation is what their life will be for the rest of their life. It is the worst possible way to go. So if you're of the opinion that modern dating sucks or modern women suck, I sincerely don't care. Your job is to look forward towards the end of your life and figure out how you want your story to end. It might be cathartic to watch reels of women being terrible or shallow or talking about their OnlyFans account and think, what's the point? But when you consider what it's like to be at the end of your life alone with nobody around you, you'll realize how fucking stupid that question is. It's no different with the economy. If the grid goes down and anything that looks like a normal job market goes away, you are not off the hook for finding resources and means of sustaining yourself and the people around you. Just the opposite, it becomes exponentially more important that you work harder towards that end, or you are going to get a much worse result. So given right now in 2023 that this is not the road with Viggo Mortensen, I expect you to get out and have gainful employment. And given that right now in 2023, it is not The Handmaid's Tale, I expect you to find a way to find a fucking partner. So if you don't want to be poor, learn how to save more money than you spend. And if you don't want to be alone, learn how to stop feeling sorry for yourself, go interact with other people and make it happen. The values and beliefs you have now about how necessary other people are in your life is going to determine how long you live and the kind of life that you're going to have. Guys, if I can help fund this channel and help you solve a problem, I call that a win-win. So please allow me one moment to preach the good word of Boostcamp. I tend to get a little complex when I'm writing workout plans. Tracking progress for these programs is hugely important, but options were never great. I would write these long, complex progressions by hand into a notebook, or I would carry a binder filled with spreadsheets I printed off of LiftVault. That's why I'm here to introduce you to Boostcamp. Boostcamp is the easy way to track training progress directly from your phone. Their library of programs features countless dozens of powerlifting and hypertrophy-specific programs from your favorite creators, including Jeffrey Verity Schofield, Johnny Candido, Eric Helms, Greg Nuckols, Alberto Nunez, and of course, yours truly. Boostcamp also has exclusive programs that you just won't find anywhere else. Select the one best suited to your needs and watch the sets, reps, weights, and exercises populate automatically. Don't guess at that one weight you lifted that one time for how many reps again? Have your log of training with you at all times for easy reference in the convenience of your phone. Not only does Boostcamp have a stellar product, but their support is the only reason this channel exists. So thank you, the viewer, and thank you to Boostcamp. Check it out today. The link is in the description.
So over time, histones are not returned to the right places, and DNA methylation is added in places where it shouldn't be.
We can read that methylation pattern, and I could tell you how old you are exactly, and when you're even going to die. And so these little chemicals that accumulate on the DNA, like plaque on the teeth, we can read that, and the more you have, the older you are biologically.
So this is David Sinclair. David Sinclair talks about the actual engineering of human DNA and how we might change it to live longer. So he looks at aging as a disease. And basically over time, the idea is that there's a loss of information. So the idea is if you can prevent it or reverse it, you've cured aging.
There's this theory that billions of years ago, early bacteria took an important evolutionary step. They actually developed two different modes of living. When times were good, they used their energy to grow and reproduce. But when conditions were tough, they used their energy to protect and repair their cells.
We have these hormetic response genes or longevity genes that are in all of our cells. And they sense when we've run a lot, we've lost our breath, or we're hungry, or a little bit hot, but a little bit cold, that these genes are turning on our general defenses against aging.
So basically saying we have two modes, is preserve and protect. When times are hard, everything hunkers down and these processes slow down. And the more we're in that state, the longer we're going to be able to go for. However, when times are good, when resources are abundant, it's just the opposite. We're getting more of this activity, so things break down much quicker because we're in reproduction mode. So our lives day to day do not have the adversity that preserves us. And that's kind of what makes us anti-fragile. The opposite of fragile isn't something that's stable, it's something that actually grows in the face of stress. And when we're exposed to adversity, it's the word that he used, we actually live longer. When we're too hot, when we're too cold, when we're exercising, when we're in a caloric deficit, when we have little amounts of food and protein, that is actually when we are able to repair this damage and we live longer as a result.
The best way to make a mouse live longer is to reduce the amount of time it eats, so periodic fasting, intermittent fasting, to keep it a little bit cool, and to restrict its amino acids. That's the recipe for long life for a mouse.
So given that these are the things the experts seem to point to that are going to give us our greatest chance of living a long, productive life, the initial question was, how does the strength training play into age and how long we live in the quality of life? And it seems like it's tangled in, like it can't be separated. It's not just something that happens as a byproduct of being around long enough, and then you start working out when you're older and suddenly you're the 90-year-old powerlifter. It seems more like this is a lifestyle that contributed to this holistic view of health and longevity, that the psychological aspect, when you get down to like purpose and having commitment, finishing what you start, having obligations that are not optional, when you get down to the physical stressors, when it creates that type of stress that they're talking about that keeps you in that preserve and protect mode, it keeps you more active. So we are inclined to look at old people and say, hey, if we can get them strength training, we're going to add years to their life. That's probably true. But more than anything, it looks like a long life full of activity and strength training is going to prevent all of those bumps along the way, not just the health and the heart disease and the diabetes and the cancer, but also all of the hiccups that cause people to check out early, whether it's becoming bedridden, becoming less active in their life, or ending up in a nursing home. So all of this can kind of be summarized as living a life that is less defined by excess and impulsivity and more on one that is defined by the obligations, by the work, by the stressors, and by being engaged and being responsible for other people. I mean, when you throw in the cell damage thing and you look at the pictures of 90-year-old Buddhist monks who lived an entire life of service shielded from the sun, you see people that look like they're 45. I thought this was interesting. Hopefully you guys get something out of this, more so than strength training wisdom. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here for how to live your life, how to think ahead, how to prioritize what's important now. So hopefully you guys get a couple more years on the back end. And even more so than that, I hope that those years are filled with excitement, joy, and meaningful relationships. That's all I got for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Till next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.